And here with me to talk about the Ravens is longtime Ravens fan and host of the Mocha Minutes podcast. This is Stephanie Sunshine Williams. How are you doing today?
Woo! Big trust. Big trust. Big trust.
The question I normally ask to a lot of these fans and a lot of people who've done this interview, how long have you been a Ravens fan, and what led you to becoming a Ravens fan? Was it, I guess, when the news broke in 1995, 96 that a team was coming to Baltimore, or was it later than that?
It was actually later than that I believe. So when the team came here, the person that was very excited was my dad. Because, he would rather like pluck off all his toenails and walk in high heels before he worked for the Browns. The Colts were on the cusp, and also the Steelers. He's like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. So I was not excited. He was. I got excited when the first time we went to the Super Bowl, and Jamal Lewis, just a complete powerhouse. I was actually at work. Now, I worked at a nursing home. And we, it was like I worked second shift, so that's in the evening. So we're watching the Super Bowl. It's my weekend. And we and the patients, we were losing our mind because, of course, the Super Bowl was on. And when he ran it in for a touchdown, we were screaming the whole floor. They're like, aren't we supposed to be asleep? It's the Super Bowl. Be quiet. It's very exciting. Baltimore's in there. Like, what are you doing, girl? Get out of here. Okay?
Oh, yeah. To you.
Ravens. Love it.
Memorable moment. Is it at that 2000 Super Bowl? Is it the 2012 Super Bowl? What to you, even if it's any of the Super Bowls in general that are most memorable to you?
I think both of those were memorable for two different reasons. So Jamal Lewis was just like a beast at 2000, but for 2012, one, it was because literally I feel like Ray Lewis had a direct line to Jesus, because I swear he willed it to her. And the Miracle at Mile High, that's not the Super Bowl, but literally everybody's like, you are not going to Denver. You are not going to win. And then we had De'Anquan Bolden, we had Jacoby Jones, and it's like we won. It was like, oh, we can win. It was like a miracle in my house. Like, if this had happened, we're going to win. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened, even with the power and the power going out. It's like, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's like, it's so much. I loved it. Because it feels so different when it's like your team to watch. Like, Super Bowl is fun to watch if you like really enjoy the sport. It's like, it's fun to watch. But when it's your team, it's like, oh, girl, it's so much different.
Expectations coming into the season. I know last year's playoffs disappointing because Lamar Jackson was out due to an injury. What were you hoping as a Ravens fan for this year's team, especially with Lamar being on the cusp of free agency?
So three things. The first, strengthen the O-line, because that has always been somewhat of an Achilles heel, because Baltimore's a defensive team, but let's be very clear, you can't score the points if he has no pocket. So it's like strengthening the offensive line, like two, and it's like we do not have a bad receiving core. We just don't have superstars. We may get like veteran superstars, Steve Smith or Deshaun Jackson. It's like, yeah, Deshaun Jackson is not a slouch at all, but it's kind of like what I wouldn't give for like a receiving core of certain people. Like, I see DeAndre Hopkins is going into free agency. Arizona might let him go. Please let him come to Baltimore. Pretty please. With sugar on top. Please bring him here. The third thing is pay Lamar Jackson. The fact that a quarterback, what quarterback have you seen in the present time has gone all the way to free agency before you pay him? Or like, you don't do this with your franchise QB. Y'all dang sure did not do this with Joe Flacco. He didn't go into it. Was like, how y'all not going to deal with Lamar Jackson? He's your franchise QB. That's just on period. I don't care if y'all are ready to pay Kirk Cousins and God knows who else. Pay Lamar Jackson. And the fact that it just came and went, I was like, come on, y'all. He's saying big trust. I'm like, then why y'all not trusting Lamar Jackson? He got to trust y'all that y'all not going to do him dirty. Why y'all not trusting him?
Was there a particular point in the season that you were optimistic? Okay, Baltimore's going to the playoffs. This is going to be the big run. Was there a particular game that put you at ease that, okay, this there's no problem with this team?
No. And that's sad to say. No. It's like I'm sitting at preseason, like, let me see who we got. And it's kind of like they had this run of losing games, and I'm just like, this is not their year. It's like you can't, it's like there was no way for me to think that this is their year when y'all didn't want to just give him a big contract. Because for me, it was like in my mind, it's like you didn't strengthen the O-line. You didn't go out and go get you some heavy hitters. Y'all didn't go out there and get it. Y'all didn't play Lamar. I'm like, I guess y'all just like, this is just, hey, let's get a good draft pick. Because I'm like, and it's not when I say all this to say that, like, as if the Ravens were a bad team. They're not. It's just kind of like it's just, you're missing certain things, and it's driving me batty, especially when I look at games. It's like, there is no way that this other team should have won. And it's like the game I was watching, I was like, how did they just come back and beat you? And I can't remember which one it was, and it's driving me, like, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm like, there's no way they should have won. And sure enough, they should did. And I was like, what?
Looking at the game, like you said, was there a point that you were concerned? Was it the Dolphins game? Was it the Giants game? Was it the Jacksonville game? There were a couple of games that
Jacksonville game.
Yeah,
the Jacksonville game. That's right. I had to think. Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
Yep, that's the game. I said, what is I'm like, he is not a terrible QB, but girl, what is happening? I was like, what's happening on my screen? I was ready. I was fighting the air. I was like, y'all are not going to get my pressure up. Because I was ready to spit nails. I said, y'all should have won this game. Because they weren't even playing that well. And that's the other thing. I don't want to watch a game where it's like y'all win because the other team is just like dragging ass. I'm like, no, win because you beating their ass. Because it's like Jacksonville should not have won that game. I don't care what nobody say.
I know a few people say that Miami game too. When you're up by almost 3 touchdowns,
it was like
a horrible game.
What? It's like, what am I watching? What am I watching? And I think I didn't finish the Miami game. I think I was somewhere, and I came home like, wait a minute, how the heck did they just what? It's like, excuse me? I need to be in a meeting. John, hello, John, open the door. We need to have a discussion.
It's like that scene from the black and white movie Battleship Potemkin where it's a baby stroller rolling down the steps. It's just going so slow. You can't stop it. It's
like that whole last quarter of the Jacksonville game, it makes me so angry because I'm like, how? I'm like, come on, y'all. Really? We cannot rely on the Bengals and the Browns being that terrible in our division to get to the playoffs.
Who do you think the Ravens match up the best with in this AFC playoff bracket? I know the brackets are out, the matchups up. They're playing Cincinnati, but who do you think the Ravens match up the best with? Do you think it's Jacksonville? Do you think it is San Diego? Do you think it's anybody else?
I think it's San Diego. It's kind of like when I think about I'm like, we're playing the Bengals. How do we get here? The fact that the Steelers are not here, I'm like, it always is music to my ears to not hear the Steelers in anything. But the Bengals, I'm like, I guess it should be like, it's divisional, so it should be the Bengals. But for me, it's San Diego. But based on that Jacksonville game, it's Jacksonville. I'm like, no, I want them. It's like, because that BS that happened in Jacksonville, no, y'all need to fix that. It's like, because that was just ridiculous.
Who's the team as a Ravens fan you're worried about seeing? Is it Buffalo? Is it Kansas City? Is it Cincinnati? Who as a Ravens fan, what's the team that worries you?
You would think I would say the Chiefs. It's Buffalo. But like, if you would have told me that Buffalo was in like talks in the last 2 or 3 years of playoffs, I'd be like, girl, Buffalo, New York? Is there another Buffalo that I don't know about? I'd have been like, yeah. But yeah, Buffalo is like the quiet, like they are such a sleeper. And they're like a group of ninjas. Because I'm like, how did we get here that Buffalo is like in the bracket? team that I kind of don't want to see. I feel like the Chiefs is kind of like, it's like the Patriots. It's kind of like every playoffs you knew you were going to see them. It's like, oh, they did wild card, first round. They might have got a first round bye. It's like, oh, okay, you're probably going to see the Patriots. Now that Tom Brady is in Tampa, it's like, oh, okay, so who we got now? You're always going to see the Chiefs, it seems like. So, no, it's Buffalo for me.
I know you mentioned Lamar Jackson and everything else. It's the second year in a row missing the playoffs with an injury, and he is, it feels like, the lifeblood to that offense. After last week's season finale and just seeing how some of these games are slipping away, how important is he to this team and to this franchise? And does this make you, especially 2 playoffs in a row, are you concerned about what you might get if you get, a long-term contract?
It's like it would make me less nervous if we had a better O-line. I mean, he's a mobile quarterback, and we can talk about that. However, strengthening the O-line, he'd have a better pocket. It doesn't make me nervous because if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, we wouldn't even be limping into the playoffs. So it's kind of like, even with us not having him at full strength for 2 seasons in a row, we're still in the picture. I mean, you can talk about our division all you want, but it's like they're not slouches either, as much as I shade the rest of my division. It's like, it doesn't make me nervous, but it's kind of like, when are y'all going to have a discussion about the offensive line? When are y'all going to have a conversation about this O-line? There's a lot of quarterbacks who literally have been in, I swear, Tom Brady, he does not have a picture of himself in his attic. But believe me, Bill Belichick made sure that O-line wasn't a bunch of slouches, because if y'all didn't do your job, you were fired. Get off my field. Bye. Put somebody else in.
Going to the prediction, who do you have coming out of the AFC for the Super Bowl? Who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who wins the game, and what is the final score?
Woo! So I also enjoy, for the NFC, I also enjoy the Eagles, so I'm always going to pull for them. I'm looking at their brackets. If I see that star from Dallas, I will be ready to riot. I will find some people. Oh, I'll anger some Cowboys fans, because I'm in Maryland, and it's like, you're in the DMV area. It's amazing how many Cowboys fans are in this area. It's like, wait, you like the Dallas Cowboys? We're in Maryland. How, Sway? How? It's like, so if I were to see, in a nice world, I would honestly like to see the 49ers for the NFC to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. I would like to see Buffalo versus the Niners. And I'm saying that as a Ravens fan. I'm like, I would love to see Buffalo versus the Niners. And honestly, looking at these two teams, and I'm trying to think, because I think Garoppolo, I think they were trying to get him back for the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So he might be back. And you got Josh Allen. Josh Allen got a cannon. So I have a feeling it probably would be maybe a high-scoring game, maybe like 27, something like that. So it's like, it wouldn't be a low-scoring game, not because both of these teams are very offensive. They're not all that physical, so defensive. So it's like, oh, this is going to be like a high-scoring game, but it's probably going to be a tight race. I would give it to Buffalo. I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo win the Super Bowl this year. I say that, and it could be funny, and the Dolphins end up being the Dolphins and the Vikings. It's like, why them? I'm like, stranger things have happened, because when we won 2012, nobody counted us in. They're like, oh no, Peyton's going back. So girl, y'all could just, Peyton and Tom are going to fight again. The girls are going to pull their hair and be like, girls, you're both really pretty. The fact that we're talking about the playoffs and Aaron is nowhere to be found. The Packers are a shell of themselves. I'm like, does Aaron Rodgers still play? I mean, did he retire quietly during the season? I mean, we didn't know. I'm like, does he even play? Is he
so many Jeopardy jokes that could have been done for Aaron Rodgers.
I was like, does he still play? I was like, maybe I should Google it. Was he injured? Because I'm like, y'all don't see the Packers anywhere. I'm like, Aaron's still there, right? Is he there? Was he injured?
You got that discount double check. That's all it is. I appreciate you being a part of the podcast and taking time out of your busy schedule. Before we wrap this up, wanted to know what are any shout outs that you had, and what are ways people can reach out to you and talk Baltimore Ravens football.
Oh gosh. Well, first, thank you so much for letting me be here, because I love to talk about the sports, the NFL, I should say. Everybody, I joke about, the NBA and the shooty hoops. They're like, the shooty hoops. I'm like, y'all know I don't watch that. I watch LeBron's thigh meets and that's it. I do not watch the games. It's all I really watch. But I definitely want to shout out you, Earl. Thank you so much for letting me be involved in this, because this is so much fun for me. Definitely got to shout out my boy Cole, aka Cole Sports. That's my sports buddy. The Gridiron Gals. I love seeing one, because there's this big thing about, they're like, oh, women don't like sports. Oh, we do. We also understand them, honestly. So I love the Gridiron Gals. And one of them's a Ravens fan, so she knows my pain about our team and how y'all literally, this would not be Patrick Mahomes. Y'all have paid him. He would have never approached free agency. I'm not doing this. But you can find the Mocha Minutes podcast wherever you find podcasts, except for SoundCloud. So Google, Apple, I was going to say Pandora, Spotify. Yeah, don't go to SoundCloud. Those are for the DJs and the rappers. That is not for podcasts. That's not where you go. You can also, if you like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, same handle, Mocha Minutes. If you like to buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Mocha Minutes. Would love to have it. But I think that's all the handles that I have. unless I think I have some more. I don't know.